Hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 6. I can't believe we're already at this point in the semester. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what is coming up, what's due for this module. So let's go ahead and get started. So in Module 6, we're going to learn about fluency. And so you're going to read chapter 9 of this textbook. And this is going of your teaching reading source book. This is where you have a lot of the strategies for fluency. Okay. Then you're going to read chapter 12 of this textbook. And this is where you're going to get a lot of the content about fluency. So you have a lot to read this week, those two chapters. For your discussion board this week, you're going to watch three videos of three different students reading, and then you are going to write about which student is the most fluent and why, and what kind of fluency does that student model. So that's what you'll do for your discussion board post. And then this week, you're going to be doing 5 fluency strategies, just like you did for the phonological awareness and the phonemic awareness and the phonics. This week, you do 5 for fluency. And so think about 5 strategies. Don't forget your first one, you're explaining the strategy and the purpose of the strategy. Second, the steps of the strategy, and then ESOL and ESE accommodations. And remember, ESOL learners and students that have reading difficulties or special education are different. So you need separate accommodations. It could be that maybe the strategies could be the same, but generally not. They're two different learners with two different types of accommodations. So I want you to differentiate the accommodations. Okay. So now what I'd like to do is just talk to you for a minute about fluency. And so let me do that for a minute. And I'm going to share my screen. And this won't take too long. And then we'll get started here. So in this module, one thing I want you to know is I have posted a video under the resources, and you can go to your state standards and look at fluency. In Florida, if I click on this link, I can see the Florida standards for fluency. And here we have in Florida the rate. And so what Florida has said is, Florida has kind of explained the words correct per minute per grade level that they want students to read. So we can see that in first grade, in the winter, students should be reading 29 words correct per minute, and in the spring, 60. And you can see for each grade level. Then the other thing I posted is fluency norms. Okay, I think I just posted the same thing. So I just wanted you to see that, those fluency norms. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this. So the main thing I want you to get from what we're talking about with fluency is that fluency, there's different aspects of fluency. One is accuracy and decoding. So that's how accurate kids are. That's being automatic. Fluency has to do with age or grade level appropriate reading. That's the speed and the rate. And that has to do with what I just showed you. So how slow, how quickly a student reads. The other aspect of fluency is volume, pitch, juncture, stress. That has to do with what we call prosody. It is expression, phrasing, chunking. If a student comes to a question mark, do they know that they're supposed to slightly raise their voice a little bit? When they come to an exclamation mark, do they know that that means that they need to read with excitement? So fluency deals with prosody also. So when we look at fluency, we want students to become fluent because fluent readers focus on comprehension. Non-fluent readers focus on decoding. And we know that the reading is important and we want our students to comprehend. And if they're not fluent, they're going to really be they're really focusing on the decoding. So fluency is that bridge. And if you go back to Scarborough's reading rope at the beginning of the semester, we saw that fluency was the bridge between good readers. So, three components of reading, and this is important, may even be something that would be on a final exam. The three components of reading: accuracy, that is, being able to read a word correctly. If a word was sad, knowing it's sad. Rate, and that's how quickly or slowly a student reads. And we know we don't want a student to read too fast, but we don't want them to read too slow. And then prosody, that has to do with intonation, stress, the feeling that a student conveys. So those are the three aspects. So when today, when you or this week, when you're doing your discussion board and you're listening to the students read, I want you to think about accuracy, rate, and prosody. So classroom interventions can improve children's reading fluency. And there are a lot of strategies that we can do to improve reading fluency. And we know children can read difficult material with appropriate support. We know that most important thing we can do to improve children's achievement is to have them read text at an appropriate level. So when you're having kids read for fluency, you don't want them to read books that are too difficult for them because then they're struggling for that decoding. We also know that repetition is good. Repeated readings are good to help with fluency. And we think that instruction will improve comprehension. And we may have to think about how to integrate comprehension instruction into fluency orientated reading. So, a little bit of research. Repeated and monitored oral reading improves fluency. Now, you notice the word monitored. It is important when you're teaching fluency that you monitor your students, you provide them feedback. If you just leave them on their own without any feedback, that's not going to be helpful. So as a student is reading, give them feedback. Repeated readings can benefit most students throughout elementary school as well as struggling students in higher schools, higher grades. Text at the students' instructional or independent levels are important. Have relatively short passages. You need text from a variety of genres. You can use poetry, nonfiction. You can use narrative stories. And you need texts that are motivating for the students. Now, I'm not going to go into all these strategies because this is your job, but these are just some strategies that you can use for fluency. Repeated readings, partner reading, echo reading, choral reading. I have a big list here. I'm just going to talk to you briefly about one strategy that I've used, and I actually wrote an article about it. I'll share it with you, and that's telling jokes. You might say, how can telling jokes help with fluency? I wrote an article. It's been about 10 years now, and we worked with some students that were struggling with fluency, and we gave them actually Laffy Taffies and gave them different jokes. Because when you think about telling a joke, if you said, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" There's a lot of fluency that you have to do with telling jokes. And so we did a week-long unit where we talked to the kids about the different aspects of prosody when you tell a joke, and then we also talked about some comprehension aspects because students had to know things like figurative language and idioms. Our final aspect of the unit was we did we had a day where all the kids got to tell their jokes, and we actually graded them on how fluently they told their jokes. So jokes are a way that you can actually help kids with reading, and who doesn't like a Laffy Taffy, right? So this week again, we're going to be doing fluency. It's Fluency is really fun. It's really one of my favorite aspects of reading because you can do choral reading, you can do repeated reading, you can do readers theater. There's just a lot of fun aspects of reading that you can integrate and help kids with their fluency. So that's what we got for this week. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you have a great Module 6 week.